So you may ask, what's event storming? Event storming is the creation of Alberto Brandolini aimed at understanding complex domains. Event storming is a collaborative modeling technique in the form of a workshop that explores business domains. It tries to understand business domain complexities through storytelling. And stories are told by business domain experts, developers, business analysts, product owners, subject matter experts, and in the case of startups, by the founders. This workshop conducted by skilled event storming facilitators. The storytelling is not freeform. It has a set of guidelines and practices, and the participants format their stories accordingly. Let's explore these guidelines. Before we begin with event storming, let's describe what happens in our new startup API Connect.link. A new user, let's call him Alex, has a project that requires exposing his API to his company's customers. He signs up with the API Connect.link. He registers his organization. He then creates a project that groups his API. He proceeds to upload his API definitions, along with the API SLA. Now his API are ready to be subscribed to. Next comes another user, let's call him Elaine. He works for an institution that requires Alex's company's API. He registers with the API Connect.link and browses existing projects. He finds Alex's project. Elaine subscribes to each API within the project. Elaine needs to select one of the SLA with associated quotas and costs to ensure he can meet his business's performance and SLA requirements. Now let's explore this with event storming. We first want to extract all the domain events produced due to the execution of internal logic. To describe an event, we usually use the past participle verbs that inform us something happened. For example, when a user registers, the event produced becomes user registered. We depict the events with orange sticky notes. It is best to adhere to the sticky color rules. In the API Connect.link example, when a person publishes a new API definition added event is produced. Or when someone subscribes to an API subscription created event is generated. We have listed a few more events: organization created event, project created event, API definition added event, SLA created event, and API subscription created event. The passive format used to describe an event is very natural to business people. Let's build some symmetry. Every event is the result of a state change, which means for that state change to materialize, a user intended and then performed an action. For example, Alex plans to register as a user. He completes the registration form and submits it, and the state change in user registration service results in user registered event. Let's call this user intent or action a command, and represent it with a blue sticky note. It is time to make sure symmetry is everywhere. After registering, our new user, Alex, creates an organization to which API belongs. He performs the create organization command, which results in organization created event. He then creates a project to logically group API. Alex performs create project command, which results in a project created event. Alex then decides to upload his first API definition. He performs upload API definition command, which results in API definition added event. Fast forward, a consumer finds the uploaded API and subscribes to it. He performs subscribe to API command, which results in an API subscription created event. Many more commands are executed and events are produced before a consumer can subscribe and use API. The given example is a partial one. We use simple present tense to describe a command. We all know that commands are not given to angels and events are not produced in the heavens. What connects events to commands are systems. Pink sticky notes depict systems. A command gets invoked on a system. For example, the register user command gets invoked on the user management system. That invocation results in the execution of a series of lines of code, which then causes state change within the system. The state change produces an event. Let's explore some examples. Let's introduce our systems here. Register user command gets invoked on user management system, which then produces a user registered event. create organization command gets invoked on tenant management system, which then produces an organization created event. Create project command and upload API definition command get invoked on API management system, which then produces the project created event and API definition added event. Remember our user, Elaine. He subscribes to an API. When he does that, subscribe to API command gets invoked on subscription management system, which then produces an API subscription created event. Next, we want to know who decides to issue a command. We want to identify the actors. Actors are always motivated by the real world. The real world influences actors. Actors then decide to issue a command. Commands get invoked on a system, and state change occurs in the system that produces an event. As you can see in this flow, we've identified the API producer and the API consumer actors. The API producer actor decides to issue the following commands: register user, create organization, create project, and upload API definition commands. The API consumer actor decides to issue register user, create project, and subscribe to API commands. The next step is to identify and describe what data is incoming and what is produced. When an actor intends to issue a command, he has to provide and pass a read model to the command. Furthermore, when a state change in a system produces an event, the event translates into one or more read models to be consumed. Interestingly, this cycle can be continuously repeated, creating a chain of commands and events resulting from business logic choreography or orchestration. Read model stickies are represented with green colors. Now, let's put this into practice for the API connect.link. As you can see, we have added our read model stickies. However, we left out the subscription management part. To register users, we have the user read model. The user registered event, when consumed, contains the user ID read model. We have the organization definition read model to create an organization. The organization registered event, when consumed, contains the organization ID read model. We have the Open API definition and SOAP definition read models to upload and add an API definition in the API connect.link. And for project creation, we have the project definition read model. I am sure by now you clearly understand where we are going with this practice. We have defined and documented our stickies using the infamous DDD ubiquitous language, the common language, and the business language. Consequently, everyone participating in this workshop can understand each other when discussing API. Thanks for watching this video. This video was part 1 of So What's Event Sourcing. In part 2, we will explore policies, opportunities, and hotspots. We will then explain how to organize the sticky notes to show everything in sequence and a timeline. Please don't forget to watch part 2. This video was generated by Synthesis, and Alex Dorendish wrote the content of this video.